So this is our Linux RHEL7, and we have started the installation. We have started the basic commands. We have seen in previous lecture, we have seen that how we can use to list the directories content, and we have seen that how we can create the files and modify and edit the files. Now today we will see some more basic commands. I will increase the font a little so it will look clear. Okay, now after creating the files, we can do the editing file also. We can use a tool cat, we can use touch to create an empty file, we can use vi or vim for creating, modifying or editing the files, and also we can use the nano editor. Then we have a graphical, we can use the graphical interface for a graphical tool also for managing, for creating or editing the files. Now next we want to create a directory. Now for creating the directories, we have a command mkdir. Now this mkdir command is used to create a directory. So we will give the name, we will give the command, and then we will give the directory name where we want to create. Now we have to mention the path also. Remember, you can use the local path, you can use an absolute path also. So if I say directly, I will say D1, it is going to be create under the same directory. Same directory, that means right now we are in the root user's home directory. So it is going to create the directory under the same present working directory. Now if we want to create it somewhere else, then we will give the absolute path. For example, I want to create it on the desktop of the other user. So I will go to home, then I will go to other user's home directory, then on that user's desktop, and then I can give the directory name. So it will create the directory there. So it depends like how we where we want to create. According to that we can give the absolute path, or if you give directly the name, then it is going to create under the local directory, under the present working directory. So I want to create this directory name D1. So I will use the name, command mkdir, and then I will mention the name of the directory. When I press enter, it is created. We can check by using the ls command. We can see that this is the directory which we have created. We can even use ll command to see the detail, and this is the directory which I have created right now, D1, which is right now created on this date and this time. So for creating the directory, we can use mkdir command, and then we will mention the name of the directory. And if you want to create somewhere else, then you will mention the directory name with the path. So this is what creating the directory. It is not that difficult, it is very simple, and directory creating is very simple. Now what we can do in command line, one more thing, that we can't do it in graphical. Like if suppose I want to create a directory structure, for example, I want to create one directory here. So what I will do, I will right click and create new directory. This is graphically what we do to create a new directory. Now if I want to create a directory inside another directory, like in this directory I want to create another directory, so I will go to this directory, then I will give right click and then new directory. Then if I want to create new directory inside that other directory which is here, so what, I will open the directory, then I will create new directory. So for doing this, for creating the whole structure of the directory, what we have to do, we have to create a directory one by one. But we can do it from the command line. We can run the command to create all the directories in the single command. For example, mkdir, I want to create a directory under slash. Now this time I will create directory under the slash, and the directory name is, let's say I will say dir1. Now under this dir1, I want to create one more directory, dir2. Now under the dir2, I want to create one more directory, dir3. In that dir3, I want to create directory number 4. In that I want to create this, and in that I want to create this. Now this we can do it in command line, because what we can do, we can create all these directories with one command. So when I press enter, it is going to create all those commands, all those directories with one command. So this is what we can do in command line, which we can't do it in graphically. Graphically, I have to create first this directory, then I will go inside the directory, then I will create this directory, then I will go inside this directory, then I will create this. So we have to go inside and then create. But here in command line, we can do create all those directories in single command. So this command will do what? It will create the directories, the whole structure of the directory. Under this, it will create this directory under D6, this directory 6 will create under 5, 5 will create under 4, 4 will create under 3, 3 will create under 2, 2 will create under 1. So we run this command. Now what is here? We are getting an error here. Now whenever you get any error in Linux command line, then you should read the error properly. Remember, whenever you run some command or you get error, then you should read the error properly, because it shows you the description, what happened and what went wrong. So you have to see the error, you have to read the error first. So your solution maybe is there in this error. Now what is the error here? It is saying that cannot create directory. No such a file or directory. It is saying that it is not able to create the directory because there are no file or directory which we want to create. Now there is no directory because we want to create it. But what is the problem here? The problem is that it is saying here that cannot create directory. Now what it is saying here? It is saying cannot create this directory. But what that means, it actually don't, it is not able to create this directory. Now what our system is thinking, that we want to create this directory and this is an absolute path for this directory. So our system is thinking that this is the absolute path, and on this path I want to create this directory. But the problem is that these directories are also not there, and that is why I'm getting this error. It is saying that I cannot create directory. Which directory? So it cannot create this directory. Why? So no such a file or directory, because these directories are not there. Now I said we can do this. So how we can do this? We can do this by using the one option with the command is a -p. Now when we use this -p command, then what it will do, -p option. Now this option will do what? It will create the parent directory also. Now what that option means, that if the parent directory is not there, then create the parent directory also. Now when I run the command now, it is now successful. Now why it is successful? Because I said create the parent directory also. So what happened here? First it tried to create this directory, but the parent directory of this directory is dir5, which is not there. So it will create this directory also. But when it tried to create this one, it says that okay, this parent is also not there. So it will try to create this one. But then it try to create this one, then it says that this directory is also not there. So it will create this, but creating this, it says that this parent is also not there. So all the parent directories where it will create all the parent directories if it is not there. Remember, if it is not there. Now for example, if we have already, these two directories are already created. So what it will do, it will not create these directories again, because these directories are already there. So this p command will do what? If the parent directory is not there, then it will create the parent directory. But if it is already there, then it will not do anything. It will create the directory directly. Now what this command did, it created the whole directory structure from dir1 to 6. Now how we will verify this? We can verify this graphically. We can just go to the graphically my PC. We can see the directory here, we can open it, we can see dir2, we can open this, we can see dir3, we can open this and this and this. Now The same thing, if we want to do it from command line, then we can use the ls command. Ls command is to list the directory content. I want to check what is inside dir1. So it shows that under dir1 we have dir2. Now dir3 4 is under dir2, so it is not showing what is inside dir2. So if we want to see all of them, then what we will do, we will use -R option. This is what the recursive option. So this recursive means it is going to list this dir1 and also all the directories inside this. And now we can see all those directories. So under dir1 we have dir2, dir2 we have dir3, in dir3 we have dir4, 5, 6, and under the sixth we don't have any other directory. Now this is a command to create the directory, and we can create multiple directories at the single command. Now next is what? To change the directory. Change the directory, that means we are right now working on which directory. We can check this by using pwd command. So right now we are under /root, that is root user's home directory. Now we want to switch to other directory, we want to change the directory. We want to go to some other directory to do some work. So for that we will use a command cd. cd is a change directory command. So you use cd and then you will mention the name of the directory with the path where you want to go. Now remember, we can use the local path also, we can use the absolute path also. Like for example, I want to go to /boot. So what I will do, /boot and enter. And now you can see that we are right now under under the boot directory. Where is the boot directory? So boot directory is under /. So we can give the absolute path, and for the cd command for changing the directory, always we will use the absolute path. Now I want to go back to that directory which I created. So it is under /root. I created d1. Now I'm in d1. We can see by using this pwd command, the absolute path. Now I want to go to the directory which I created, like dir1. In that I created dir2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6. So I want to go to directly dir6. So what I'm doing here, I'm giving the absolute path under /dir1, then dir2, dir3, dir4, 5 and 6. When I press enter, now where I am right now, I am under dir6. Now it is only showing the name of the directory where we are right now. We are in the present working directory is what? dir6. So it is not showing the whole path here. Always it will not show the whole path. And that is where our pwd command is it is important. It will show the absolute path. So right now we are under dir6. Now if I want to go back one directory, like I want to go back to previous directory, so what I will do, I will use cd space ... This double dot is actually what previous directory means. It means always previous directory. Remember, single dot is for the present directory and double dot is for the previous directory. So right now we are under dir6, and if I give cd ... I will go back to dir5. We can go back multiple directories. We can use cd space ... then /../... Now how many dots I gave? 3. So that means I will go back 3 directories. So after 5 I will go back to 4, 3 and then 2. So when I press enter, I will be under dir2. Now if I do more back, if I say I want to go back to 4 directories back, so if I try this, then what happened? Remember, right now we are already under dir2. So if I want to go back to 4 directories, previous 4 directories, then what happened? First it will go to dir1, this is the first. This after dir4 it will go to slash, but I am saying go back 4 directories. Now this is not possible, there is no 4 directories are there. Remember, this slash is the end. Now after the slash there is nothing, so nothing is there after the slash. So whatever dots I give here, I will reach to the last position, that is a slash. I cannot go back more than this slash. Always the slash is the last directory. It is the top directory, it is the root of the directories. Now if I want to go to etc, so I will mention this. Now wherever we are right now, suppose I am under this dir6, and wherever I am, right, I am under any directory, I just want to go back to my home directory. I am logged in as a root user and I just want to go back to my home directory. So what I will do here, I will give the command cd, and then I will use this symbol. I can use this symbol. This symbol is for the home directory. That means this home directory always shows this symbol. So if you want to go back to the home directory, then you can give cd command, and then you can mention the symbol, this tilde symbol, to go to that home directory. You will press enter and it will take you to the home directory directly. No matter where you are, in which directory you are, you will directly go back to this home directory. Now if you feel that is difficult to give that symbol, I will go back to dir6 again. So if you don't want to give this symbol, then you can just press cd. Only cd command will take you to the home directory. So cd command is to change the directory, cd dot dot to go previous directory, cd and this symbol to take you to the home directory, or only pressing cd can also take you to the home directory. Now right now I am in dir6. Now I will go to etc directory. Now I have one more command. With cd we can use hyphen also. Now when you use this hyphen with the cd, then what it do here, it will take you to the previous working directory. Remember, previous directory is different and previous working directory is different. For example, right now we are I'm under this dir6. Now when I say previous directory, so I will go to dir5. But when I say previous working directory, so it will take me to this etc directory, because before going to this dir6 I was in this etc directory. So now if I give this command cd space minus, so it will take me to the etc directory. If I give again this, it will take me to dir6. So this is quickly changing the previous working directory. To go back to previous working directory, we can use cd space hyphen. It is, we can say, it is, we can assume like in graphical we use alt tab. We use alt tab to switch between different two directories. So this is the cd command. This is a command to change the directory, change one directory from other directory. And if you press only cd, it will take you to the home directory. Now after changing the directory, what is next? Next we will see how we can copy some files. So copy some files from one place to other place. Right now we are under this present working directory is root users home directory. Now we want to change the directory, we want to copy the file. So copy the file. So we have some files here. We have f1, f2, f3 and these all other files. Now we want to copy the file to somewhere else. Now in graphical what we do, copy and paste, we'll do separately. In graphical what we do, we go to the directory, we select the file which we want to copy, we right click on it, we select the copy command, then we want to paste it on desktop. So we'll go to that directory, then we right click on it and then we select the paste command. So what we do here in graphical, we do in two steps. First we do copy and then the next step we'll do paste. Now here in command line, what we do both the steps together. That means we copy and paste, we do at the same time with the same command. So in copy command, what we do, we use a command. So the command is cp. Then we will mention what? The file with the source. That means the source file which we want to copy. And if it is in the local directory, if it is in the local path, then we can mention the name of the file directly, or we can mention the absolute path. So first we will mention the source, like under the root home directory, I want to copy this F1 file. This is the source. Then I will give the space, and then I will mention the destination where I want to copy the file. For example, I want to copy the file on the desktop. So desktop means it is under /root, and root users home directory, there is a desktop directory. So on this desktop directory, I want to copy this file. So very simple. In command line, we'll do it together, both the steps. So copy is the command, then we mention the source, and then we will mention the destination where we want to copy that particular file. And then when we press enter, the file is copied. Now file is copied on the desktop. Now we go to check the desktop here, and we can see the file here. So the file is copied from the root users home directory to the root users desktop. One more thing we can do, the file is still here because we did copy. Remember, the file is still here under the home directory because we did copy. Now one more thing we can do, we can copy and rename also. We can do copy and rename at the same time. For example, I want to copy the same file again, F1, and on the destination, I gave the destination path. I will mention the name of the file. For example, FF1. Now what it will do here, it will copy this file and paste on the destination, but with the different name. So what we are doing here, we are copying the file and pasting it on the desktop, on the other side, on the destination with the different name. So we are copying also and renaming also. Now this will do what? It will copy the same file but the different name. We can check on the desktop, we can see the file is there, but it is with the different name. Now this is what? Simple copy. So we do copy files here. Now I want to copy directory. Now copying directory, the command is same. Command is cp, then we have to mention the source, and then we have to mention the destination. And also at the destination we can rename the directory. Just like we rename the file, we can rename the directory also. Now I want to copy, so I will do copy this directory on desktop. So what I will do, I will use a command cp, source is this directory. I want to copy this directory on root users desktop. Now if I give any name here, then it will change the name also, it will rename the file, rename the directory. And if I don't give any name at the destination, then it will rename, it will save the file at the same name, with the same name. So the command is same as the copying file, we copy the directory. Now when I press enter, we get an error here. Now what is the error? Now error is saying that omitting directory. It is saying that we are trying to copy a directory, not a file. That means we are trying to copy the directory. Now trying to copy the directory, so what is the problem here? We can just copy the file, so how we can copy the directory also? Now what is the problem here? That this directory, it is not a file, it is a directory, and directory can have a file. That means we can have some files inside this directory. So what Linux is saying, it is not able to copy the directory because maybe there is a file inside this directory. But we know that there are no files inside this directory. If you check the file, we remember that this directory we have just right now created and there are no files inside it. So we can check this under D1, there is no files, it is empty. Even I give the absolute path, the directory is empty, there is no file inside the directory, but still it will not allow us to copy the directory because it thinks that there are some files inside it. So we are saying that copy the directory, then what about the files? So it is actually saying you are saying to copy the directory, but what about the files inside the directory? Maybe the files will be there, maybe the directory is not empty. So what it do here, and even if suppose you remember the directory is empty, there are two options are there. If you go with -a option, even if it is if it is empty, there is no file inside it, but when we list the hidden files, so you see these two options, dot and double dot, it looks like it's a directory. So even it is not an empty. So very simple, when you try to copy the directory, it will not allow you to copy the directory because it thinks, the system thinks maybe there is a file. So for copying the directory, what we have to do, the command is same. The command is same, only we have to add one more option here, that is -r. And this -r is for recursive. It means recursive. Now recursive means everything. If you remember, we did it with the ls command also. ls-R was there. It was for recursive listing. Recursive listing will do what? It will list everything inside the directory. So here with the copy command, when you use R, it is also recursive. And what it will do, it will not only copy the directory, it will copy all the files inside the directory. So everything will be copied with the directory on the destination. Now this time it will not give error because we are saying that copy the directory and with all the files. Now there is no error, and if you see on the desktop, we get the file here, directory here. So very simple. For copying any file or directory, what we have to do, we have to run the command, then we have to mention the source and the file name and then the destination. And even we can make the different name on the destination also. Then for the directory, we can use the same, the command format is same, command, then source and then destination. Only the difference is that we have to add one option R. R will do what? It will do copy the directory recursively. Even we can add this R option when we are copying the files, but it will not make any effect, but we can use it. Then we can also add one more option, that is called F. F will always be for the forceful. Here with CP command it will be for forceful. So if suppose some files are in use or something, if it is giving some error, that is because sometimes the files are in use. So what we can do, we can forcefully do the copying the files or directory. So we can use CP-R with F. So RF, it will do copy the files or directory recursively and forcefully. So this is what copying. So very simple, we do the copy, we copy files and directory. For directories only we need the extra option R here. Now after copying, next thing we do is moving the files. Moving the files or directory. Now moving means very simple, it is cut and paste. In graphically what we do the same like we do copy. We go to the place where we are having the files or directory, we go and select the file, right click, we select the cut command. Then after that we go to the place where we want to copy the file, paste the file, then right click and paste. So whether we cut or paste, copy or cut, we can do the paste. So in graphically what we do it in two ways, two steps, cut and paste. In command line, same as copy, we can do it in single step, and that is what? A single command. Now the command format is also same, just like the copy command. we have to mention the source and the destination. So same, we use the same thing. First we have to mention the source and the file name, and then we have to mention the destination. So the command is move, mv. This is the command to moving the file, for moving the files. So we use the mv, then we will mention the source. I want to move this file f2, so I will mention f2 here, and then I will mention the destination. I want to move the file on desktop, so I will say /root. On the desktop I want to move this file. So command is move, then we are mentioning the source with the source file, and then we'll mention the destination path. And I press enter now. Now what happened? This file is moved on desktop. We can verify, we can check on desktop, and this is the file here. And it is not available right now under the home directory. When I press this ls command, now we can see after 1 we see the 3, because this 2 f2 is now moved to desktop. Now same as copy, we can move with the different name also. So for example, I want to move this file f3 on the desktop. I can move it with the different name ff3. So the same file will be moved on the desktop and it will be moved as a different name. So same as a copy, we can do rename also. Now when you check, you will get ff3 there, and on the file here there is no f3 now. f3 is now moved to desktop. Now this is what the same thing we do for the files. Now we want to move directories. So this is the directory we have, or I will create a new directory, empty directory, mkdir. I will create a new directory here, dd1. So here we have a new directory dd1 here, and I want to move this directory. So same, I will use the command move, then I will mention the source, where the root, under the root we have dd1, and I want to move this on the desktop or somewhere else, anywhere else, whatever we want. We just have to give the absolute path. Wherever we want to copy, we just have to give the absolute path. So I want to copy it onto desktop. Now what I'm moving the directory. Remember, I'm not moving a file. I'm trying to move a directory here. Now remember what happens when we try to copy the directory. File was copying easily, just like we are moving the files, it is okay. But when we try to copy the directory, it was giving error. It was saying that you omitting the directory. It is saying that you have to copy the directory by using the recursive option. Now I want to move the directory. Now what happen if I press enter here? Will it give error or it will move? Let's see. Now what happened here? It has not given any error. Instead, I have not given -r option here. I am not doing it recursively. Still it is moving the directory. We can verify that there is no directory here, dd1. It is now moved to the desktop. It is there. So it is moved successfully without having any extra option r. So I'm not moving the directory recursively. So we can move the directories just like the files. We don't need extra option r here. But when we try to copy the directory, we need an extra r option. Now here what is it happening here? It is because simply, like suppose when we copy the directory, we actually increase the data. For example, suppose we are having a directory here, and in that directory we are having 10 GB of data. And when I copy the directory in some other location, that means I am creating more 10 GB of data. So in this case, it says that you are trying to create more data, you are trying to capture more space. So it says that you have to be careful what you are doing. So you should use it R option manually, like you know that what you are doing. But when we move it, we don't increase any data. Like if it is 10 GB here, then it will go to the other location, but it will remove 10 GB from here and it will move it to other place. So does not matter, in our hard disk it will remain 10 GB. So in that case it do what? It move the directory directly without having any recursive option. We can say that. So this is what the move command. Now we have seen what the copy and move. So if we want to copy the file and directory, we can use cp command. Then we have to use the source and destination. Then for moving the command, for moving the file or directory, we use the mv command. And same as the copy command, we use source and destination. And one more thing, at the destination we can rename the file just like the copy command. Now that option is important because in command line, if suppose we want to rename any file, remember it is a command line. So in graphical what we do, we right click on the file and then we go to select the rename. But in command line we don't have any option to do the right click. In graphical what you do, right click and then you will select the rename option, and then you can easily rename the files. But in command line we don't have that rename right click option here. So for renaming any file or directory, we basically use move command. We use move command to rename any file or directory also. It is like copy. We can use the copy also for renaming. But copy will do what? It will create one more copy. But we don't want to create extra copy. We just want to move. We just want to rename any file or directory. Then we do what? We use move command. So in command line, if you want to rename any file or directory, then we use move command for it. Now how it works? For example, I am having some files here. Like for example, I have this F1, and I want to rename this file. So what I will do here, I will use the move command. Now move command works like this. Well, you move, you mention the source, then you mention the destination. On the destination you can mention different name also. It will not create extra copy. It will just move the file from one place to other place with the new name. Now for renaming the file, what I will do, I will use the source and destination same. That means I am moving the file from the same directory and I am moving to the file in the same directory. So from directory is source directory is same, destination directory is also same. What I will do, I will only change the name of the file. So here it is file 1. So here I will say it will be file 10. Now it is moved from one place to other place. Actually it is moved from the same place to same place, only it has changed the name. So this is how we do what? We rename the files, or even a directory also. Same command we use to rename the directories. So now file 1 has become now file 10. So I'm not moving files anywhere else. I'm just keeping the file in the same place. I'm just using the move command to rename it. If it is in a local path, then it will become very simple, like you will just use move command, then you will use the name, existing name, for example file 2, and then you will mention the new name, file 20. So this is what the source and destination, because I am using the absolute local path, so I am not giving any path, and it is doing like, it is like renaming the file. So this F2 is now become F20. So for renaming the file also we use move command. And even a directory, whatever you want to rename the file or directory, we can use the same command. Now we know how we can create files, how we can list the directory content, how we can change the directory, we can modify the files, we can copy files, move files. Now the last thing we see, what? To delete any file or directory. Now we want to delete any file or directory. So for deleting any file or directory, we have a command rm. Rm command is for removing the file or directory. Now we have some files here. So I want to remove some file here. So I want to remove this F1 from here. So what I will do, I will mention the command rm. Then If it is in local directory, then I can give the name directly, or I can give the absolute path to remove file from anywhere. So for example, I will give absolute path under the root's home directory. I want to remove this file. Now when I press enter, it is asking me that you want to remove the regular file. So I say yes, I want to remove it. So I will say yes here. And then what? It is removed. Now when you check, now it is not showing the file, it is removed. Now there is no recycle bin here. Remember, from command line, when you remove any file, there is no recycle bin. So you are not able to recover it from there. You are not able to restore it from there. In graphical, we have the trash here. In graphical, we have a trash, but in this graphical, when you delete any file by using the delete key from the keyboard, so if I press delete here, or if I right click and select the delete, now delete means here it is saying move to trash. Simply it is doing what? It is moving to trash. Now this happens only in graphical. So when you use the right click, move to trash, or press the delete key, it goes to trash. But this happens only in graphical. But when you remove the files or directory, anything from the command line, then it will not go to trash. It will go directly, it will remove permanently. So it is under trash here because I use this command, this delete key here. I can restore it from here. But in the command line, if I use command rm to remove any file, so what happened? It will not go to trash. It will delete permanently. That you will not be able to recover. Never, you will never able to recover it. So it will remove permanently. So whenever you remove any file, you have to be careful what you are doing. That is why it asks you one more time that do you want to delete the file? Are you sure? So you say yes, and then it removes the file. Now suppose you don't want to get this question answer, you just don't want this. You know you want to delete this, you just don't want to do this yes and no. So what you can do? You can use this option F, -F. This will do what? It will remove the files forcefully. I want to remove this file 10, this file. Now I am using this -F option. This means forcefully. So what it will do? It will remove the file without asking any question. It will directly remove. No recycle bin. It will remove permanently. This is a dangerous command for the user, that if you remove this, if you run this command and it gets successful, that means you remove an important file. You can remove some important files also, and if suppose you removed it, then you will not be able to recover it. And that is why it is recommended to not log in as a root user. Always log in as a normal user. So if you mistakenly run the command to delete something, and if it is deleted, then it will not be able to recover. But if you are logged in as a user, so when you try to mistakenly, if you run the command, you will not have permission on everything. So what you will get? You will get error. Instead of removing the file, you will get error. But if you want to do something with the administrator account, then you can log in or switch to the root account, and then you can do this. And even if you run the command as a root, then root has lots of permission. Root have a lot of permission on every file. Mostly all of the files. Root user has almost all of the file permission of all of the file. So it can do delete mostly files, the most of the files, and it can corrupt the system. So remember, this F option can be dangerous. Now this is what a file. We are deleting the file. Now we want to delete a directory. So there is a directory D1 and I want to delete this directory. So what I will do? I will use rm command, and then I will mention the path that I want to delete D1 directory from root user's home directory. That is this directory. Now when I run this, it says what? can't remove, says it cannot remove. Why? Because it is a directory. Now again, just like for the copy command, it says I can't remove this directory because maybe it contains a file. Right now it is not having any file. We can check this. It is not having any file, but still it says that you can delete it, but there is maybe it can have a file. So this is not a file. It is not having any file. It is an empty directory. Now if I want to remove this empty directory, then I can use another command, rmdir. I can use this rmdir command to remove the directory which is not having any files. Now you can see it is deleted here. So this directory this rmdir command we can use to delete the empty directories, but it is not used to delete the directory which has a content. Now for example, we'll go to desktop now. Now see, I'm using the local path. I'm directly giving the name of the directory, desktop directory, and I'm right now on desktop. Now on desktop we have these files and directory. Now this directory D1 is empty, but I will do what? I will copy these files to this directory. So what I will do, I will copy these files, F1 to, I am giving absolute path here, to D1. Then I will copy this F2 also. Then I will copy F1. Then I will copy F3. So I copy these files under this. Now when you check D1, you can see this D1 contains some files. Now it is not empty. Now if I use rmdir command to remove this directory D1, I will get error. Now what is the error? It says fail to remove because the directory is not empty. So if the directory is empty, then we can remove it by using the rmdir command. But if the directory is not empty, then we have to use rm with -r option. Again, this R option is what? Recursive, and it will do what? It will remove the directory with all the contents. So when I say delete this D1, now it is going to delete. Now first it will ask you the questions that whether you want to see inside this directory. I say yes. Then it says there is a file, you want to delete it. I say yes. There is one more file, you want to delete it. I say yes. Then there is one more file, you want to delete it. I say yes. Then there is one more file, you want to delete it. I say yes. Then it is going to delete the directory itself, and then done. It is now deleted. So what it did, it deleted the D1 directory. So we use what? -r option with rm, which is what? Recursive. And when we use the recursive, when we remove the recursively, then it will do what? It will remove all the directories. It will remove the directory with all the contents. But there is a problem here. What is the problem? For each and every file and directory, it is asking me the question. Now there is only 4-5 files there. 4-5 these files are there. But now suppose if you are deleting a directory, and in that directory you have 100 of files. If you have 100, 200 or 500 or 1000 files and directories inside that directory, now you know you want to delete it, but see what happens when you run the command to delete. It will ask the question for every file and directory, each and every file and every directory. It will ask the question for you that do you want to delete this, do you want to delete this, do you want to delete this, you want to remove this regular file, you want to remove this regular file. It will ask for each and every file, and it will be a very difficult. It will be like not difficult, it will be like very irritating, because we know why we want to delete it, but every time it will ask the question for every file. Now if you don't want to do that, then what you use the -f option. For example, we have a directory here which we created dir1, and under that we have multiple directories. So this dir1 is not empty and we have multiple directories inside this. So if I want to remove this by rmdir, it will say that this is not empty, but I can remove it with rm-r option. Now when I use this option, then what it will do, it will ask multiple questions. It will ask the question for each and every file and directory here. Right now we are having a directory, but I don't want to do that. So what I will do, I will use have option. Now remember, have option will do what? It will remove it forcefully without any question answer. Done, it is removed. So what it will do here, it will remove it without any question. So this R option we can use with F, so that we can remove any directory with all the contents. This is useful when suppose we are deleting the directory where we are having hundreds of different files and directories. So we don't want to give a question answer for every file and directory, so we just remove it forcefully. But this command can be very dangerous, because without any question answer it can remove everything. Everything, that means even a directory also, because we are using R here. Remember, if you use only F, then only what? It will remove only file, but directories will not be removed. But if you use R also, then what? You can remove everything. So it is a very dangerous command for root. If root mistakenly runs on some directory, then it can remove everything from there. Because mostly root user has a permission on almost all these files. Now we can do one more thing here. This is what they are removing. Now for using any command, we can use some wildcard character also. There is a wildcard character which is also useful if you want to do something on multiple files together. Like for example, you want to list some files together, multiple files together, you want to copy them together, you want to move them, or you want to delete them together. So you can use the wildcard character also. If suppose you don't remember the name of every file. For example, here we have these files here. Some files are starting with F option, F character F. Now suppose I want to list only those files with the attributes which starts with some character. Like I want to see only those which starts with F. So I will give F, and then I will use wildcard character. Wildcard character is this. It is called wildcard character. Now this means what? Everything. This means what? Everything. Now what I am saying here, list the files with the attributes -l and list all those files which starts with F, but I don't know what is the next thing. I just only know that the files will start with character F. So I want to list all those files which starts with character F. Now when I press enter, we can see that it is showing only that two files which is having this character F in it. Same as suppose I want to see the files which is starting with capital D star. So all these we have D desktop, and on desktop we have these files, and then on this we have document also which has no files. Then we have download also, which also don't have any files. So this F, this star means what? It is a wildcard character, and it do use to list multiple things at the same time. Like for example, if suppose I don't remember the beginning and the ending of the file, I just remember that in between, somewhere in the file name, there is some character or a word in between. For example, the beginning I don't know, I give star. The end I don't know, but at the middle I have dots. That is, I know every file which I want to list has a dot in between. What is the beginning, what is the ending, I don't know. Now what it do, it will list all those files or directories which is having dot in between the name, no matter where is the dot. So this is what the wildcard character. What we can do, we can suppose copy, move, any command we can use this wildcard character. For example, on the desktop we have these files here. Now I want to remove everything from desktop. So what I can do, I will use rm with R and F both, because maybe the directories are also there and I don't want to use question answer. So I will use that, and then I will give the absolute path. I will give root users desktop, and instead of mentioning the file or directory I will mention star. Now what that means, I want to remove everything on that desktop directory. Now what it did here, we can list it, it has removed everything from the desktop. You can go there and you can see there is nothing here now because we have removed this. Now this can be a very dangerous command if you using rm-rf. That means you want to remove the directory with forcefully everything, directories and file, and if you use this star symbol, that means you will delete everything. So it can be very difficult, it can be very dangerous command. For example, if suppose you are logged in as a root and you did run command like this etc star. Now that means what, you want to remove everything from etc directory, and then what if mistakenly you press enter, then it will try to remove everything. Now remember, the root user has mostly permission on mostly all the files, so it will remove a lot of file which is not able to recover. You will not be able to recover, you have to reboot your system, you reinstall the system. So it can be a very dangerous command, but we can use this wildcard character in many commands to do the task easily. So now we know that how we can list any directory content to see what is inside the directory. We know how to check present working directory. We know how we can use to edit or modify the file or create the files. Then we know how we can create any directory. Then we know how we can change the directory, switch the directory. Then we know how we can copy the directory, how we can move the directories or files. Then we know now that how we can remove any file or directory. Now this is what the basic commands that we use regularly and normally. Now any big configuration we do, any biggest configuration or any other configuration we do, we have to do it through all these basic commands. This is a very basic thing. So if suppose in Linux it's a file-based operating system, any configuration you have to do, the configurations goes like this, like creating files, editing files, copying data from here to there or something. So you should know that how you can do this all from command line. So we know now that all these things, like basic things what we do in graphical, how we can do it in command line. So we know that how we can move the directory files and copy the directories and files, remove the directories and files, how we can edit the files, how we can create directories, change directories. So we know all these things now. Now the next thing is what we can have to have a help. We should know how we should take the help in command line, and there are some help we have. So first, in the command line Linux, we have a help of tab key. We have a help of this tab key. Now this tab key in our keyboard, what it do here, it is to autocomplete. It is a help for you in Linux command line. It will do the autocomplete. Autocomplete, that means, remember, everyone does not have a spelling correction. It will not do correctly the spelling. Sometimes we make mistakes. So for these For those users, we have this tab command, tab option. Now this tab option will do what? It will auto complete file name, directory name and commands also. So for example, if you don't remember the whole name, you can just type the initial name and then press the tab key. For example, I want to list a file. I want to list a file. For example, I want to list this file. Initial setup. It's a big name. So I don't have to type the whole name. I will do what? I will just use the initial I and press tab. Now it is completed the whole name when I press the tab key. But if suppose sometime what happened, we have some multiple files with the same name or with the same character it is starting. Let's for example, I want to see what is inside Anaconda. So when I type A tab, it will auto complete, because with A only this file is there. So when I press A and tab, it will complete the whole name, because with A there is only one file is starting, and if I press I, so there is only one file which is starting with -i, which is starting with a small I. If I say I want to list the file which is F20, so if I press F and tab, now it has completed till file. But after the file we have two options. We have the 20 and we have 3 also. So it is not completing that. Now if I press enter here, it will give me error, because it needs the absolute name. Remember, you can't give or you can't use the half name. You have to provide the full name. Whether you are using file name, directory name or even a command, you have to type the whole command, you have to type the whole name. So when I type file, press tab, it completes till file. Now I have to mention, I want to see what are the other options I have. You can have multiple options. So you can press 2 time tabs. Now when you press 2 time tabs, it will show you all the possibilities you have. Right now we have 2 possibilities. We can have file 20 or file 3. Now it is on me, like for example, if I press 2, so file 20, file 2, there is only one file 20. So when I press tab, it completes. Now remember how you will know that is it right name and it is complete name or not. You will know by this cursor. If you see when it is not completed, the cursor is not leaving the word. You see the cursor is still with the word. But when it is completed, it will go away from the word. Now see, it is gone away from the word one space. When it is not going away, that means it is not completed. There are some more possibilities. For example, I want to list the directories. So I say D. Now when I press tab, you see it is not completing. So I say O. When I press tab, it is still not completing, because there are 2 names which is starting with DO. When I press 2 time tabs, and remember it is not leaving the cursor or leaving the word also. Cursor is not leaving the word. When I press 2 time, it shows that there are 2 directories, this and this. Now how you will know that this is directories here? You will know by this slash. So when you press tab, it will show you all the possibilities, and if there is no slash after the name, that means it is a file, and if you see after the name is a slash, that means it's a directory. So we have 2 directories with this, which starts with DO. When I press C, then it will auto complete. So this will do what? Tab will do what? It will do complete file name and directory name, and it is very useful. It is very useful that you should make a habit of pressing the tab, because if suppose sometime you trying to get some file, you trying to edit or move or copy or delete some file, and you press the tab and the file is not completing, the name is not completing, that means the file is not there, or maybe you are using the wrong spelling. So either it can be 2 options, either the file is not there or maybe you are using the wrong spelling. So if it is not completing, that means you are giving the wrong name or the file is not there. So always it is a good idea to use the tab key to autocomplete. Same as for the commands. So if you use a command, if you want to type some command, like I want to type some command, I press RE. Now I am trying to complete and it is not completing, and also the cursor is not leaving the word. So I will press 2-time tab. So it says that with RE you have these multiple commands here. All these commands are starting with RE. Now I will go one more word, P. Now when I press tab, it is not completing. When I press 2-time tab, it says that there are these options are there. These commands are also there, which starts with REP. Now when I press Q and press tab, it completes. And you see the cursor is also leave the word. That means this is the complete word. Now complete word, that means you have to give complete word. It will not work like this. You see rep Q, it completing the word, that means it is unique. But still you can't use this. It says no, command not found. You have to complete the command and then you can use it. Then you can use the command. So you have to complete the command. You cannot give the command where it is unique. So you have to type the whole command. Now if suppose you make a wrong, if you make a spelling mistake, then no matter how much tab you press, it will never complete. Like for example, if I give REPQ or RAPQ, now I will try to press tab, it is not completing. Whether I press 100-time tabs, it will not complete. Because the command is not there, there are no command which is starting with this spelling, that means I am giving a wrong spelling. So pressing the tab, it is a good idea, good practice. So make a habit of using the tab. So this will help you, it will help you to find out the right way, right command or the file name and the directory name. So this tab is one of the help. Then the second help you have is this up and down arrow key in your keyboard. This up and down arrow key in your keyboard will help you to rerun the command which you have already run. Reuse the commands. Like you have used some commands already and you want to reuse that command. So you can get those commands from pressing this up arrow key. You can press up arrow key and you can see I am pressing the up arrow key and it is showing all my previous commands. So if I want to use any command which I have already run, like this big commands, I don't want to type it again. So I can press up arrow key and then I can reuse these commands. Now where these commands are coming from? Even suppose it is not in buffer. Remember, it is not in the buffer. Buffer means what? If you restart the system, it will clear. It is actually coming from the history. Right now it is in the buffer, but when I reboot when I shut down the system or log out, it is going to be saved in a history file. So we can say that it is coming from the history. So if you want to see the whole history of your command, then you can run the command history. This command will show you the whole history of your command. Till now I have run 204 commands till now. Last command was history itself. And what command I have run, I can see all these commands. And it is actually showing you the commands till you last or first time logged in. If you remember, we first time logged in and the first command we run was tty. Then we run the pwd command, then we start the ls command to see listing. Then after listing ls command, we did saw the cat command. Then we saw the vi, vim, gedit. We have seen touch. So we have seen all these. We have seen nano. then we have seen making directories, then we have seen this cd command, we have seen this move command, copy command, then remove command we have seen. So this is the whole command we have executed since we have logged into this terminal. Now this history is it is from last time when we logged in. Now last time when we logged in and then we run the commands, it is stored into the history, and we can see the history by using the history command itself. Now remember, it is not under the buffer because it is we have restarted the system also, but still the history is there. Now remember, if you want to reuse any command from this history, then you can use by using this number. So we can reuse any command from the history by using this number. Like for example, I want to use this command, so I know the number is 191, so I will give the explanatory symbol and then I will use that number 191. It will do what? It will rerun the command, and you can see the command is this and this command is rerun, and you get the output also. So we see the history, we can scroll the history by using up arrow key, down arrow key, and also we can see the whole history by using the history command. And if you want to reuse the command, then you can just press up arrow key and then reuse the command, or you can do what? You can use the number of that history from the history command. Now one more thing, every user has their own history. Every user has their own history because other user cannot see other users history, because it is a security concern, because users don't know what the other user is doing. So this one user's history will not be shown to other user. This is the history for the root user. So root user history is different, other users history will be different. Now how it is different? How it is different? Because the history of all the users or every user will be stored into their home directory. For example, this is the root user, so root user's history is stored into its home directory. So where is the home directory of the root user? Right now we are under the home directory of that root user. So under the home directory of that root user, if you see the hidden files ls-a, then you can see the file which stores the history, and this is the file which is a hidden file .bash_history. In this file, it is stored with the history of this root user. So it is having all the history of this root user. Now if you check the file here, if I open the file with cat command .bash_history, so what is the last command it is showing here is this gedit. But what is the exactly last command we have when you run the history command? So it is showing this last command itself is the cat.bash history, and it was showing only what? In the file it is showing till here. It is showing till here only, but we have run all these commands also. Now why these commands are not showing in the file? Because these commands are not saved in the file till now. If you remember, when we started the file, we started the machine, we opened the command terminal. So the first command we use is this. So we use this command. So this is the first command after rebooting this file. So these commands, after these commands, which is these commands are all is the latest command. These are all latest commands, and these commands are not saved in the file till now. Now when it is going to be saved? When we logged out from this terminal or we restart the machine. Now logging out of this terminal, that means if I exit from this sudo terminal, that means it means logging out. So if I log out from this terminal, then the latest history which we have run on this terminal, it is going to save into this file. Let's see. I will exit now. Normally when we do exit from this sudo terminal, that means we are logging out. Now when we logged out, that means the latest history is now saved. Now when I open the terminal, now remember, when you open the terminal or when you log on again, then again you will get that history back. When you see this up arrow key, you can see all the history. Now where these histories are coming from? So it is coming from the file. So when you log out or shut down the system, your history will saved into the file. Then next time when you log on, reboot your system, log on your user account, the history will be loaded again from that history file. Now when you check the file here, now you will see the latest history. And now you can see the last command we run. We check this, we check the history, and then we exit from the terminal. So this is what it is saved. The history is now saved into the terminal. Now suppose, and now till now whenever I logged in, till now whenever whatever command I will run, it is going to be in the buffer. It is not going to be saved until I log out from my system. Now suppose I am running some sensitive commands here and I just don't want to save it in the history file. I just don't want to save it in the history file. Then what I can do, I can clear the history. So before logging out, what I can do, I can clear my history and then I will log out. Now what it will do, it will not save anything in the history file because it will remove every current history. All the current history it will remove. Right now we have this history. We can see when I press the up arrow key, I can see all the history commands. Why? Because it is loaded from the file. Right now it is there, but I want to remove it. Whatever the command we have run right now, I just want to remove it. All the latest command, I don't want to save it in the history file. So what I will do, before logging out, I will use the history command with -c option. Now it will do what? It will remove or clear all the current history. Now when I press the up arrow key, I am not able to see any command because it is now removed the history. And now I will exit. Now when I exit, so it is not going to save any latest command in the file, but the command which is already there in the file, they will remain there. They will not clear. So if I try to run now, it is not showing me any command. By pressing the tab, if I press the history command, it says there is no history. You can see there is no history here now, but it is still in the file. If we check the file, the history, previous history which is stored in the file is still there. Now if I exit from here and load again, then it will reload the history again. Now it has reload the history again. If I now press up arrow key, I can see all those commands. I can see all those commands. Even when I run the history command, I can see all those commands. So these commands are coming from the history file. Now if you want to remove your history every time, so you just have to do what? Before logging out, you just have to clear your history, then log out. Then what it will do, it will not save your command, it will not save your commands into the history file. But if you want to remove your all the history which is saved in the file also, then you just have to remove the file. This is a system generated file, but still I can remove because this is my own home directory and I have all the permissions on my home directory file. Whether I am root user or I am any other user, I can remove my history file. I removed. Now there is no history file there. If you see, there is no history file, but it will create again for the latest history. So it will be automatically created again when we run new commands. And when it is saved in the file, it will create automatically. But now it has removed all the history. Now if I want to remove the current history, then I will do this and then I will exit. So before logging out, clear the history and log out if you don't want to save your history. Now what we will see under the history file, only that exit command. So history, when you up down see, you press the up arrow key, you see only exit. That means in your history file there is only exit command, and the history file is again created. You can see the file is again created and there is only one command there, exit, because the latest command I did not saved. So this is what another help you have, which where you can reuse the commands, and the reuse of the command you get from the history. Now, if you want to get the help of any other command, for example, we know ls command, but I want to know more about this ls command. I know some of the options of this ls command, but there are some more options are there which I want to know, and I want to do the practice on those extra options. So if you want to know more about any command, then what you can do, you can anytime within the command, you can anytime type --help. So after the command, you can anytime in the command you can type --help to get the help. Now what this will do, it will show you what you can do next. That means after this command, what options you can give next. So when you press this, it will show you the detail that what options you can give after the particular command. I say ls and then I give the --help. So it says that this is the uses. The uses is like this, ls and then option and then the file name. Now what options we have? We have these options. We have seen A option, we have seen we have not seen these options. There are many more other options. We have seen this H option, which is human readable, but we have many other options. So this --help, so this --help we can use anywhere in the command, anytime in the command, to get more about what next we can give. Now if you want to see more detail than this, then we can go for the manual. That means with every software you get the manual. So with every command we have a manual here. In the manual we will get the detailed information. So if we want to see the manual, then we will use a command man, and after the man command we can use any command we want to know. Suppose I want to know about ls command, so I will give man ls, and when I press enter, it will open the manual. This is the manual, and it is saying that ls command do what? It is used to list the directory contents. How we can use it? We can use it like this: command, then the options, and then file and directory. And options are these. So these are the options we can use. It is showing you with the description. Who is the author? What is the copyright? And you can also see some other option. You can also use this command to see more information. Now this is what the manual page, and if you want to come out of this manual page, you can press Q to quit and go back to your command terminal. Now manual page, every command has the different manual pages. Like for example, when you use this manual page with the man command directly, it actually show you manual page for number 1. Now what is this number 1? I want to know what is this, so I will use man page for the man command itself. That means I want to see the manual page of man command itself. So when I do this, then here we can see that numbers, what that numbers means. Now the number means, number 1 manual page means it is for the executable program or shell commands. So when we use the manual, when you use the manual page to see, when you see the manual page of any command, then it will show you this 1. Now number 2 manual page is also there. This number 2 is for the system calls. It is actually a section number. So section number 2 is for the system calls, that is functions provided by the kernel. So if any command has the system call also, then we can see it. Now every command does not have it. Now for example, I will open another terminal. Now on this terminal, I want to see number 2 section for ls command. It says there is no entry there. So every command does not have that. But number 2 means what? It is for the system calls. So if some command has a system calls, then it will show with number 2. Number 3 is for the library calls. This is functions within program libraries. So if you want to see this, then you can use it like this with that command. Again, it is not with this, but some command would have this. Then 4 is for the special file. It is usually found in dev. So in the dev directory we have some special files, and this 4 will show you some extra options of that file. This 4 is not for ls. Normally it is for the dev directory files, device files. It is not for this also. Then 5 is for the file formats and conventions. That is example, this file. It is showing you this file also, but this is not for ls. Again, if I try to use 5 here, it says no, it is not there. Then number 6 for the game file, game related information. 7 is for the malicious files, including the macro packages and conventions. Example, the 7 is we can use the gr of 7 also. Then 8 is for the system administration commands, usually from only for the root. So this will show you only the command which is we can run with the root. Some commands will have options which we can run with the user, and we can run with the administrator also. Administrator, that means root. So this 8 will show you only which is we can use with the administrator. 9 means kernel routines. It will show the kernel routines. Now every command does not have these all, but some command has it. Like for example, I will use for the passwd command. It is having the 1. 1 is the default one, but I will try to get 2. Now 2 is not there, section 2 is not there, section 3 is not there, section 4 is not there, section 5 is there. You can see the section 5 is there. It is related to file because the same name file is also there, passwd file under etc. So it is the manual page for that file. Number 6 is for the game. This is not there. Number 7 is not there. Number 8 is not there. Number 9 is also not there. So it will not come with all the commands, but we can see some manual sections. These are the different sections we have for the manual pages. Now if you want to see the command in very much detail, then we can use info command. This info command do what? It will show you in very much detail info, and then you use the command which you want to see. Now it will open in very much detail, and you can see it is showing you in very detail, like you are opening the whole book for it. And now you can go down, up, down. You can see the whole book. It is started from the introduction, and then it is going on to show you everything. In info, you will see everything for the ls command. It shows you in the detail. And you want to go out, then you can press Q again to come out from there. So this is what the help of a command. So what we have a help of a tab key to auto-complete the file and directory name and commands. We have a help of the history, where we can have all the commands in the history. We can reuse the commands. Then to get more information about some particular command, then we can use the man page, or we can use the info also. So we have seen today what are some basic commands. Like we have seen how we can create directory, change directory, copy files, move files, and delete files and directory. And then we have seen how we can get some help and how we can see the man page or manual for any other command.